Hi, my name is Lee Davis, one of the pastors here at Berlin Church in Lewis Center.
And I'm Rick Negley, and we thank you for joining us today.
We're following up today with some discussion regarding Pastor Rick's teaching from the end of Colossians chapter 4 regarding how we might encourage others and receive encouragement from them. Today we'd like to pose a couple of questions and provide some practical answers for your consideration. First of all, what are common circumstances or sources for discouragement in our lives? And then secondly, the second question, what has God left for us to encourage us in the midst of these circumstances or facing these sources of discouragement? So Rick, taking up that first question, what are common circumstances, what are common sources for our discouragement?
Well, there are certainly many, but one would be when we feel overwhelmed by responsibilities or when we're tired or weary. I think of the young mother with little ones in the home who can be so easily overwhelmed and maybe discouraged, and that's a time when extra encouragement is needed. When we're dealing with physical pain, especially acute, chronic physical pain, that can cause people to be so discouraged and to just be at the point of even despair. And so we need to be alert to those around us, or even ourselves when we're facing those kind of things, that we might be especially in need of encouragement. When we're experiencing relational conflict, when there's conflict in the home, in important relationships, whether it's with husband and wife or parent and children or a coworker in the workplace, when there's relational conflict, those kind of things contribute to discouragement as well. So there are many more reasons, but those are just a few that we need to be alert to in our own lives and in the lives of others.
The next question that we have to consider is, what has God done, what has He left for us to encourage us in the midst of these very common human-like circumstances, these sources of discouragement? There's lots of things we could say, but for today I'd like to focus a little bit on God's gift to us, His Holy Spirit. In fact, this was promised way back when the prophets prophesied the new covenant, that God would not only give us hearts of flesh and scribe His law upon them, but give us His Spirit to enable us to obey, to worship, and to enjoy God and one another. But we face a world that is still broken. We face a world that is fallen, and we face our own brokenness in this yet fallen world. But God has given us His Spirit, in some ways the catalyst, the proof, the down payment that life will not always be like this, that a new age has been ushered in. We are told that we are sealed with the Spirit. Our future is secure. Jesus Himself, in John's Gospel, calls the Spirit the Comforter, the Helper, the one who will come alongside us. In Romans chapter 8, Paul famously tells us that there are times where we are helped by the Spirit. And prior to this, he says that this Spirit is the Spirit of adoption, who reminds us that we actually now belong to God, we who formerly were far off from Him. The Spirit who helps us, particularly helps us in our prayers. Paul says there that there are some times where we are so overburdened with grief, with discouragement, that it's hard for us to even articulate prayers back to God. And in those moments, mysteriously, the Comforter, the Helper, comes alongside of us with perfect prayers that God hears for us. All of us have been there. In fact, a lot of us in these past couple of months have been there, where we have felt so discouraged that we couldn't even lift our heads. But one of the promises of the gospel, the good news, is that God has taken up residence inside of us by His Spirit, by this Comforter, by this Helper, who will not only remind us of what Jesus has said, who will not only secure us to God for the future, but who actually takes up prayers for us when we can't even articulate them to God. That is good news. So my brother, my sister, if your eyes are looking at the ground, if your head is drooping, if your hands are loose by your sides and you feel like you have no strength, God and His Spirit is with you, and He will never abandon you, and He will help you. So if you find yourself unable to even talk to God today, the Spirit will take up utterances for you. Talk to Him. Trust Him. He will help you. So in this midst of a season like this, which is full of catalysts, opportunities for discouragement, God is with us by His Spirit and will never, ever forsake us. Take heart. We love you.